Okay, so today we're going to do an overview on the stationary filler. These fillers are pretty simple and very fast to set up. So first thing you want to do is unpack this filler from the pallet. Go ahead and set up your frame right here. It is pretty much super light. Pick it up with one hand, put it on any table you want. Then go ahead and set your cabinet next to it. You'll always have some mounting hardware that's probably taped to the top of here, where you can mount this cabinet to a table, you can mount it on top of a wall, kind of wherever you want. Then next what you want to do though, if we're just testing it out, we could set it right next onto the table on there. What we're going to do is plug in our power supply, or power plug, so it'll come right here. It just takes 110 power. This guy plugs in right there. Alrighty, for this one, usually our stationary fillers with one pump, it's going to be a 5 amp max. You have an on-off key, up and down arrows here to configure the pump, enter button, and config. Alright, first thing I'm going to do now though is turn on my controller now that everything's plugged in. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a little dose sign on the LCD screen. That basically is going to show you how much when you hit the foot pedal down here. And the foot pedal, just a side note, is just plugged in right here to the screen cable. It is hardwired in. So if I push that foot pedal or I hit the enter button, it will make fluid come out, or it's going to run the pump. If I actually take this off and I hit my button, you can see the pump's going to move and then reverse fill. Also, if I hit the enter button on this side, same thing happens. Alright, if you want to adjust that fill volume, all you have to do is come over to these up and down buttons and kind of key it up, and it's going to go up. If you hit the down buttons over here, it's going to go down. Alrighty, and they are pretty sensitive, so sometimes if you push it, it might jump 2 or more, so just push it real quick and it'll get you to where you need to go. Alright, next if we want to configure this system, it comes pretty much configured for you for like an MCT oil, something like that, because we test every filler before we ship it out. But what you want to do is hold down this configure button for 2 seconds, and the screen's going to go into a settings page. Okay, the first one is mode. Most of these machines we ship with dose, so we're just going to bypass that, and I'm going to use these buttons over here and just push the up button. Next, it's going to tell us current. That's going to be the current that's going into this motor. For this smaller motor, 2.8 works real good. If it's one of our larger motors, it's going to be running around 4 amps, something around there. That is in DC, not AC. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and click it again. This next one is calibrate. Calibrate's probably the most important one. This kind of calibrates so when there's 5 mLs on the screen, it's going to fill 5 mLs. Now, say you want to fill smaller than 1 ml, you could use this calibration to drop the milliliters per rotation or raise milliliters per rotation. And you could just use the up and down arrows to do that. But you first need to enter the setting. Let me actually go back in there. So I'm going to hit this up button until I get back there again. Alrighty, so calibration. If I go ahead and hit this enter button, it's going to ask wet or dry. Just go ahead and hit enter again. Alright, so in here now I can change that with my up and down buttons. I go ahead and bring this up or down, depending on how I need to move it in order to scale in, to calibrate the pump or scale it in. But for the MCT oil, I'm just going to keep this guy at 1.2 mLs. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. It'll say saved, and then we can move on to our next one. Okay, dose speed, we usually preset these at 300. Some people, they like to run them slower or faster. 300 seems to work pretty good for us, but the thicker the fluids, you might have to run it a little bit slower. A little bit thinner, you could run it a little quicker. That's one you could probably play with to make it work real good for your products. Next is a dose INT. For our setting we're using, we're not using that, so we're going to bypass it. Next is number of times. Just make sure that's set at 1. Suck back. Okay, so we are at 0.2 revs. Basically what that is every time it fills, it's going to actually reverse fill a little bit. And so basically when this pump runs, it's going to go clockwise, and then it's going to go counterclockwise a little bit. It's real important on that one for, say, like a syringe filler like this one we set up. Basically that way it's going to suck back fluid so nothing kind of comes off this top when you take a syringe off that top. It also helps on drips on fillers. So anyway, we're going to keep that at 0.2. That's usually pretty good. Alrighty, next is going to be acceleration value. Usually you could mess with this if you wanted to ramp up and ramp down. So basically if you wanted to start filling kind of slow and then speed up towards the middle of the bottle, you could drop that number down. We usually ship it at pretty much max. Deacceleration, right now that's at max 2, but if you wanted your fluid to the pump to start slowing down towards the end of the fill, you could lower that number as well. Next is if you wanted to actually change the direction of the pump, you could do that here digitally as well. Enable inputs, we're just going to bypass that, we don't need it. And next is going to be factory reset. We don't want to reset because we already preset these in here. And next is exit settings. So that is basically all your modes for you. What I'm going to do is go back to exit settings and hit the enter button so I could exit out of these. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then it's going to go back just to that 5 ml dose. Okay, next is how to get your line on the pump. So basically this line right here, you just kind of slide it through your pump like this. Like there, make sure it's on that side and that side. Then what you're going to do is use this little clip up here and just clamp it down. And just make sure your hose isn't pinching anywhere. And it is not, looks good. Next, what I'm going to do is this one set up for syringe. So the hose is actually going to plug up next to this fitting right here. It's basically just a tube fitting that connects to a lure lock. So I just put that on and zip tie it just in case it builds pressure. And then next is going to be this fitting, and we talk about more of the different fittings in another video, which we will get into that on the next video. You could look at different tip heads for the stationary fillers. Thanks and have a great day. If you have any questions, please go to www.rockymountainplc.com.